CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, 85, and Dark Impulse for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I thought we were just a situationship. Then I found his username on a dark web Hitman forum. So, I know how this sounds already. I'm that person, the one who should have known better. But look, everything felt normal, like Tinder 2023 normal. I met Jay on Hinge. First message was a meme about Kendall Jenner's cucumber cutting skills, and I laughed. We vibed on everything: music, late night humor, hating TikTok drama, but watching all of it anyway. You know how situationships are, too chill to define, but somehow serious enough that you catch feelings without saying it. Jay wasn't hot in a Chris Evans way or anything, but he had this sleepy charm. Always wearing thrifted hoodies, smelled like that cologne every dude on YouTube wears, Dior Sauvage or something. He had tattoos that didn't make sense, like a matchstick on his finger, a crying smiley face on his wrist, and a pair of coordinates on his collarbone. He said, pointed to a Starbucks in Prague. I thought it was just hipster weirdness. I wasn't some naive girl locked in my room all day. I have a life, friends. I study at uni, have a side hustle editing TikToks for micro-influencers. Hell, I even Uber Eats at night sometimes, just to stack extra cash. But something about Jay, it was like gravity, a slow pull. And I think that's how it starts with people like him. The first red flag wasn't even a red flag. It was just a weird night. It was back in late October, that liminal space kind of fall, where everything smells like wet leaves and smoke. We were binge watching old Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes at his place. He lived in this off-campus apartment that was way too clean for a dude. No hair in the sink, no fast food wrappers, and the bookshelf was alphabetized, literally. At around 1:30 a.m., I got up to pee, and the hallway light was off, but his laptop screen was still on. I didn't mean to look, but you know when your eyes just go there. He'd left a tab open, black screen, white text, payment received, awaiting confirmation of target. I froze. At first, I thought it was some kind of roleplay, or ARG. I mean, guy watched creepy iceberg videos for fun. But then I saw the tab title, HTMANFORUM.VL. I'm not stupid. I've seen enough Reddit threads and YouTube horror stories to know what that probably stood for. I didn't say anything, just pretended I hadn't seen it. Played dumb. I know that's lame, but in the moment, my body said, don't react. My hands were shaking under the blanket for the rest of the night. The next day, I googled HTMANFORUM.BL on my phone. Obviously, nothing came up. I even tried Twitter and Reddit. Zip. But something weird happened a few days later. I was scrolling through Twitter at 2 a.m. like usual, and saw an account I didn't recognize liked one of my tweets from 2019. The handle was gibberish, something like @notj43, but Y3S. The profile pic was just a plain black square. I clicked on the account. Only one tweet, posted 3 minutes before. Not her yet. I don't know how else to explain the feeling I had. My mouth went dry, like I'd just swallowed sand. I blocked the account, turned off my phone, and laid there in bed, staring at the ceiling like it was going to peel open and drop answers on my face. I told my friend Cassie about it the next morning. She joked that maybe I'd matched with a guy who was playing some long-con creepypasta campaign, but when I showed her the tweet, it was gone. Whole account deleted. 2 days later, Jay texted me like nothing was wrong. Just a casual, "Hey, wanna go to that McDonald's in Times Square at midnight for chaotic energy?" He always joked like that. Said he liked unhinged tourism. I went. I know. We sat in the middle of that 24/7 chaos, dipping fries in soft serve and watching people scream at the screens like it was Vegas. He told me he loved people watching because everyone shows their real face when they think no one's looking. I laughed, but it felt off, like the kind of thing a serial killer says in an A24 movie. The turning point happened that night when he left to use the bathroom. He had left his phone on the table, face down. I wasn't going to snoop, but the screen lit up with a notification. Transaction received. Reply Y to confirm target. It wasn't iMessage. It wasn't WhatsApp. It was some weird app called Nocturne I had never seen before. I tapped it. Instantly, the screen blacked out. I didn't even see the message again. Just a loading spinner. Then it crashed to the home screen. Nocturne was gone. I didn't say anything when he got back, but I left after that. Told him I was tired. Blocked his number the next day, and I thought that would be the end. It should have been, but the story doesn't end with me ghosting him, because 2 weeks later, a girl from our school was found dead, and she had posted on her Instagram story the night before. Going to Times Square McD's at midnight with this guy I met on Hinge. Wish me luck, LOL. Her date's name? Jay. You ever feel like the world starts flickering? Not like lights, like reality. Everything looks normal. People smile. Music plays in cafes. TikTok trends roll on. But behind all of it, there's something twitching under the skin. Like the world's face is stretched too tight over something squirming. That's what it felt like after the McDonald's thing. After I saw that message. After I blocked Jay. After that girl, her name was Emery King, was found dead. She was a sophomore at my university. I'd seen her around. Bright red phone case. Wore chunky platform docks even in the summer. She posted about Jay on her IG story hours before she was found face down in the East River. The story disappeared like usual, but someone grabbed a screenshot. The guy in the blurry photo next to her, grinning with a McFlurry spoon in his mouth. It was Jay. 100%. I stared at it for 10 minutes, like it would shift into something else if I blinked hard enough. I didn't go to class for 3 days after that. Not because I was scared, because I was processing, replaying every conversation, every joke, every dumb little moment that now felt like a setup. And that's when I made the mistake. I looked for him, not in a romantic way, not because I missed him, but because I needed to know. Who the hell had I been sitting next to? Eating fries with? Sleeping beside? Was he a killer? Was he a puppet? Was I next? I started with usernames. I remembered the gibberish Twitter handle, at not J43, but Y3S. I tried combinations of it on Reddit, Discord, even old-ass forums like Gaia Online. I found nothing until I remembered the app, Nocturne. There's no trace of Nocturne on the App Store, obviously, but when I searched it on GitHub, I found a repo titled Nocturne Project. Discontinued. Description: encrypted communication tool for dark transactions, forked from Crow Silk framework, uploaded by a user named match_root, last updated 14 days ago. The README file had one line: "This was never for you. Go back to your little cartoons." I couldn't sleep after that. That night I got a call at 3:07 a.m. from a no-caller ID number. I didn't answer, but the voicemail came through. It was 10 seconds of breathing, wet, gurgling, like someone with a collapsed lung. Then a whisper: "Not her yet." Same words, same cadence, same damn thing. I deleted the voicemail, but not before saving it to my drive, just in case. Call it paranoia, but I knew deep down I wasn't hallucinating. I was in something I didn't understand. And then Emery's friend posted a TikTok that changed everything. Her account was private, but someone reposted the video, and it blew up for a day before it got taken down. The caption was, "They said she drowned. Look at her phone screen." In the video, the camera zoomed into a blurred out image from the coroner report. Emery's hand, fingers bloated and pale, still clutching her phone with that unmistakable red case. And the lock screen? It said, "Confirm payment received. Target complete." My legs actually gave out. I dropped my phone, threw up. There was no way. That screen doesn't just show up. That's not iOS. That's not Android. That's something else. Jay didn't block me. I was too irrelevant to block. That's what hit me next. I wasn't a ghost. I was a draft. I spent hours scrolling Reddit and image boards that made my antivirus throw up, warning after warning. Eventually, in a fringe cybersecurity subreddit, I found an archived post with the title, "Hitmanforum.vl, my brother's in too deep. Help me before I end up like his ex." It was a long post, broken grammar, terrified rambling, but the parts I could piece together described a network of private VPN channels used to contract people for cleanup. It wasn't just about murder. It was blackmail, kidnapping, disposal, cover-ups, and the scariest part, every contractor was rated with usernames, percentages, success ratios, and testimonials, like Yelp. You could scroll through people's usernames and read reviews. Some were fake, meme-y, but some. I saw one name with 5 stars, 91% completion rate. User, N0TJ43. Discreet, efficient, used water method. Will hire again if needed. Clean disposal. Target made to look like accident. No questions asked. And the last one. She didn't know she was the target until the end. Beautiful execution. He even let her finish her McFlurry. I punched a hole in the drywall. I didn't care. My hands bled. I couldn't breathe. I stayed up all night downloading encrypted browsers. I knew it was stupid, but I had to find that site. htmanforum.vl tor.i 2p.i. Even used a friend's old laptop that had Kali Linux on it just so nothing could trace back to me. It took 3 days. On the 4th night, I got in. It wasn't called Hitman Forum anymore. It had changed names, like some kind of digital snake shedding its skin. Now it was called Violet Echo. The landing page was nothing. Black screen. One line of text. Do not browse casually. We are not a zoo. There was a login field and a directory of publicly listed jobs. One of them, target, Casey R. Payment pending. Handler, N0TJ43. That's me. That's my name. My full name. The R stands for Reyes. And the timestamp, 4 days from now. The page glitched when I clicked it, like something was watching me, like it knew I shouldn't be there. Then, just before the screen went black, a message popped up. White text. All caps. Snooping makes it worse. We move faster than you can run. I ripped the battery out of the laptop, shut off my phone, deleted every social account, packed a bag, told my parents I was going to a mental health retreat. Lies. I hopped an overnight Amtrak to Boston and didn't tell a soul. But the worst part, 2 days ago, I stopped in a 7-Eleven, just trying to breathe, feel human again. The clerk looked up from the register and smiled. He had a matchstick tattooed on his finger. He handed me my receipt, and on the back, "You've got 2 days left, Casey. Hope you run better than the lost girl. You ever tried to disappear in 2025? It's not like in movies. You don't just throw your phone in a river and grow a beard in a cabin. You exist in hundreds of systems without even realizing it. Subway taps, grocery store reward cards, face recognition on Snapchat, Amazon knowing you've been depressed before you do. I tried to vanish, went full ghost, burners only, cash only. I bought a grey hoodie, cheap sunglasses, pulled my hair into a cap. I stayed in trash motels that looked like they hadn't been cleaned since the Bush administration. I showered in my socks. I left no fingerprints, not even in my own life. And yet somehow, they still found me. I don't mean they followed me in a trench coat through a dark alley. This isn't a cartoon. It was subtler. It was invasive. Like my life was being scraped off me, one memory at a time. It started with the flyers. The first one was taped to a streetlight outside a diner in Worcester. All it said was, Casey R. If you're still running, you're losing. The handler is en route. No contact number. Just that. The next one I found shoved in the freezer aisle of a 24-hour Walmart, folded inside a box of frozen chicken nuggets. It was printed on glossy photo paper. My college ID picture was on it. The caption said, "She's still cute. She still bleeds." I dropped the box and sprinted out of the store. 2 nights later, I crashed in a moldy Airbnb outside Providence. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that photo. Where had they gotten it? That pic wasn't online anywhere. It wasn't public. I cracked open my laptop. I shouldn't have. I didn't even connect to Wi-Fi. Just opened up my saved folders. I had a folder called Memories, filled with stuff from college. Old memes, dumb screenshots, one-off selfies from nights I don't even remember. One photo caught my eye. It was me, in my bedroom, wearing a hoodie I don't remember owning, sleeping. The angle was low, like it had been taken from the floor, or maybe under the bed. I screamed, flipped the mattress, checked inside the vents, punched a hole in the drywall behind the nightstand. Nothing. But when I opened the photo's metadata, something else jumped out. Device name, N0T_J43-CM2. He'd been there, at some point, in my room, maybe even before Emory. I was never a target. I was a practice run. There are things you can't unknow. There are realizations that hollow you out, like acid through bone. That was one of them. I ran again. No destination. I hitched a ride in the back of a Craigslist van filled with rusted typewriters. Paid the guy with the last $200 I had. Slept under a bridge in upstate New York with rats chewing holes in my shoes. And still, they followed. I knew it by the smells. You ever notice how certain people carry scents like memories? Jay always smelled like that fake Dior Sauvage, right? But now, wherever I went, I'd smell it before anything else. I checked into a public library near Syracuse to use one of their ancient computers. While I was there, I felt something shift, like the air had tightened. I turned around. No one. But someone had placed a book on the seat next to mine. I hadn't seen them do it. The book was ancient, pages yellowed and curling. Title, The Violet Echo, Volume 2. Inside, there were case logs, at least 50 pages of them. Clean clinical documentation of kills. Time, location, method, rating. Then, page 41. Case ID, 20,125-C, R target, Casey Reyes, handler, N0T_J, 43 method, preference, intimacy, then isolation, then dissolution. Scheduled execution, 36 hours remaining. The bottom of the page had a strange detail. Dissection location reserved. Old Steinbeck Farm, Apple Grove, NY. I googled it immediately. It was real. Abandoned apple farm, shut down in 1998 after a pesticide leak killed a dozen kids on a school tour. Locals called it cursed. It had been used as a haunt attraction until some kid fell into a cider press in 2016. Now it was just rot and dust, and someone had reserved it for me. My stomach turned. I closed the book. I don't know why I took it with me. I should have burned it, but something in me wanted to understand. So I went there. Yes, I know, but sometimes curiosity is louder than fear. It claws and chews. It begs you to look, because maybe the truth is worse than the paranoia. Maybe knowing is power. The farm was dead silent. No animals, no birds, no wind, just brittle leaves, whispering like gossip. The main barn was collapsed in, but the side building, the old cider shed, stood mostly intact. I crept inside, pitch black. I flicked on my phone flashlight and saw chains, hooks on the wall, stained wooden tables with restraints, and in the middle, a chair. Not just any chair, my dorm chair, from my old room, blue vinyl with a tear in the cushion. On it sat a mannequin wearing my clothes, one of my old hoodies, my jeans, my underwear. I backed away. Then I saw the camera, mounted in the rafters, pointed right at the chair, red light blinking, live, streaming. I heard a sound behind me. Thunk. I turned too fast, crashed into a shelf of rusted apple press tools. Then, footsteps, one pair, deliberate. A figure stepped into the doorway, tall, black jacket, face in shadow. But then he stepped forward, just one step, and I saw the matchstick tattoo. Jay? He tilted his head. Then he spoke. I gave you time. I gave you clues. You think you're the only one who's ever mattered. He reached into his coat, pulled something out. A roll of plastic wrap. No guns, no knife. Just a roll. Like what you'd find in a kitchen drawer. The key isn't how they die. It's what they die in. People get caught up in murder porn. Guns. Gore. That's not it. It's the meaning. The ritual. That's what gets 5 stars. I ran. Sprinted into the orchard. Trees like skeletons. Branches clawing. I didn't stop until I couldn't hear my heartbeat over the wind. He didn't chase me. He didn't have to. I'd seen the setup. I was on a schedule. When you realize you're being hunted, you start counting things. Steps between streetlights, seconds between breaths, windows that are lit versus the ones that aren't. You stop thinking in days and start thinking in intervals. How long before the next sign, the next message, the next reminder that someone else is keeping time for you? I didn't sleep after the orchard. I walked until my calves burned and my vision tunneled. Every crunch of leaves sounded like someone stepping on glass behind me. I kept waiting for hands on my shoulders, for a voice close to my ear. It never came. That was worse. By sunrise, I made it to a gas station just off the highway. One of those places that smells like burnt coffee and rubber. I bought a hot dog I didn't eat and sat on the curb, watching commuters scroll their phones like the world hadn't tilted. I checked my burner. One new message. No number. No app header. Just text. You're early. That's good. It means you still want to live. I threw the phone into the trash can, then immediately fished it back out, hands shaking. I hated myself for it. Curiosity is a leash. They knew it. I needed help. Not police. This wasn't a call 911 situation. This was the system is a hallway and the walls are listening situation. So I went to the one person who'd always believed me when things got weird. My cousin Mateo. He worked IT for a hospital in Jersey. He was the kind of paranoid that keeps duct tape over laptop cameras and never says Alexa out loud. I took 3 buses and a train to get there, switching seats, watching reflections in windows. When I finally knocked on his door, he opened it with a baseball bat in his hand. We stared at each other for a full second before he lowered it. You look like you crawled out of a bad documentary, he said. I told him everything, not the emotions, just the facts, dates, screens, names, the forum, the countdown. I didn't say Jay's name out loud. I couldn't. Mateo listened without interrupting, face going from skeptical to pale to something else entirely, a look I'd never seen on him. He didn't say, "That's impossible." He said, "They've been doing this longer than you think." He showed me something on his computer, a private Slack channel from years ago. Cybersecurity folks, law enforcement contractors, people who'd quit their jobs suddenly. Threads titled Echo Cells, Contract Culture, Shadow Ratings. Half the messages were redacted. The rest read like war stories. Mateo scrolled to a pinned message. If you're reading this, you're either hunting or being hunted. The worst mistake is assuming there's only one of them. That night, we tried to scrub me. New name, new SSN application. He made calls I didn't ask about. We wiped devices, burned accounts, closed loops. It felt surgical, clean, hopeful. At 2:11 a.m., the power went out. Not just the lights. Everything. Routers died. Phones lost signal. The apartment went quiet in that unnatural way that makes your ears ring. Mateo swore and went to check the breaker. That's when his phone buzzed. No signal, no power, just a vibration on glass. A notification slid across the dark screen. Collateral escalates when you share. I heard the sound that night, the one I'll never forget. Not a scream, not a struggle, a sharp intake of breath, like someone realizing too late they forgot something important. Then a heavy thump, then nothing. I didn't go into the kitchen. I already knew what I'd see. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't call anyone. I ran until my lungs felt like paper. By morning, the news called it a medical emergency. No suspects, no footage. The building cameras had glitched between 2:08 and 2:17. A perfect window. I was alone again. And now it was personal. They didn't message me for a full day after that. Silence can be louder than threats. I stayed in public places, airport terminals, malls, anywhere with too many eyes to sort. I watched a parade of normal life. Kids dragging parents into Disney stores, couples arguing quietly at Starbucks, a guy FaceTiming his mom by a fountain. It all felt staged, like extras in a movie I wasn't supposed to be in. On a screen in the mall, a travel ad looped footage of famous places. Eiffel Tower, Shibuya Crossing, Times Square at night. The voiceover chirped about seeing the world. My phone buzzed. We already have Attached was a video. I didn't want to open it. I did anyway. It was me. Or rather, my life. Clips stitched together. Me laughing at a cafe in Barcelona from a semester abroad. Me standing in line at Universal Studios, pretending not to be scared on a ride. Me asleep on a train, head tilted, mouth open. Moments I never posted. Moments I didn't know were recorded. At the end of the video, text faded in. Final location updated. A map pin appeared. Florida. Orlando. My stomach dropped. I knew that place. Everyone does. It's the kind of location that feels safe, by association. Families, costumes, fireworks, the happiest branding on earth. The perfect place to hide something terrible, because no one wants to imagine it there. Another message followed. Public places reduce noise, complaints. I boarded a plane with a fake ID that shouldn't have worked. It did. I sat between a woman watching a cartoon on her tablet and a man snoring into a neck pillow shaped like Mickey ears. I stared at the safety card and wondered how many exits it takes to leave your own life. When we landed, my phone chimed. "You're doing great." The hotel room was pristine and wrong. Someone had already been there. The curtains were drawn exactly how I liked them. The AC was set to my preferred temperature. On the nightstand sat a paper cup with a green straw. My usual Starbucks order written on the side in neat handwriting. Casey. Under it, in smaller letters, last day. I locked the door, checked the bathroom, the closet. I pulled the mattress away from the wall. Nothing. No cameras, no notes. Just that cup. At sunset, the fireworks started somewhere in the distance. Pops and crackles and cheers bleeding through the walls. I sat on the floor and hugged my knees, trying to remember what it felt like to be anonymous. Another message came through as the fireworks peaked. Tonight isn't about pain. It's about closure. I don't know how long I sat there before the knock came. 3 soft taps. Polite. Almost shy. I didn't answer. The door handle turned anyway. The door didn't swing open like in the movies. It eased inward. Slow. Controlled. Like whoever was on the other side wanted me to notice how calm they were. The hallway light spilled across the carpet in a thin surgical line. I stayed where I was on the floor, back against the bed, fingers dug into my arms hard enough to leave marks. If I moved, it would feel like permission. I wasn't ready to give that. A shape filled the doorway. Not Jay. That was the first shock. This person was older, late 40s maybe. Neat hair, beige jacket, theme park employee badge clipped to the pocket, the kind with a smiling cartoon mascot on it. He closed the door behind him and locked it. The click small but absolute. "Relax," he said. His voice was gentle, professional. "I'm not your handler." That was worse. He pulled the desk chair out and sat, careful not to face me directly, like a therapist avoiding confrontation. "I'm here for quality control." I laughed. It came out wrong. Too loud, too sharp. "You people rate murders like restaurants." He nodded, like I'd said something obvious. "People misunderstand what we do. This isn't about death. Death is easy. It's about compliance. Narrative. Did the subject understand why it was happening? Did the experience resolve the contract?" He checked his watch. "You've been difficult," he added, not unkindly. "But difficulty increases engagement." I looked past him, at the window. Fireworks bloomed in the sky, bright and stupid and celebratory. Somewhere below, kids screamed with joy. The sound leaked into the room, warped and distant. "You killed my cousin," I said. He tilted his head. "No, your handler did. And even that was..." Indirect. He failed to de-escalate collateral. That's why he won't be finishing your case. My heart stuttered. What do you mean, won't? He smiled then. Not wide, just enough. He's already been reviewed. He set something on the desk between us. A tablet. The screen was on. Violet Echo's interface glowed back at me, familiar now in a way that made my skin crawl. A profile page was open. User N0T_J43. Status, close below it. A short clip played on loop. Grainy. Night vision. A man tied to a chair in a room I recognized too well. The cider shed. Jay's face was swollen, eyes frantic, mouth working around words I couldn't hear. The camera angle was wrong. Higher than before, like someone had improved the setup. Handlers forget they're replaceable, the man said softly. It's a common mistake. I couldn't stop staring. I felt something ugly and electric spark in my chest. Not relief, not joy, something closer to understanding. So what? I said. You're here to finish it? He shook his head. No, your contract was never about your death. He slid the tablet closer so I could read the fine print. Objective. Induction. I looked up. You were flagged early, he continued. Pattern recognition. Curiosity. Resilience. You kept looking when most people shut down. You followed breadcrumbs. You came to the site. You survived your handler. That puts you in a very small percentage. My mouth went dry. You groom people to join you. Recruitment is such a crude word, he said. Think of it as conversion. He stood and walked to the window, watching the fireworks like he'd paid for the view. The world already runs on invisible violence, supply chains, algorithms, proxy decisions that ruin lives without a face attached. We just remove the pretense. He turned back to me. You understand that now. I wanted to say no. I wanted to scream, but the truth sat heavy and undeniable. Every step I'd taken, every line I'd crossed, had stripped something away. I wasn't the person who'd matched with a guy on Hinge anymore. That person would have looked away, called it fake, logged off. I hadn't. What happens if I refuse? I asked. He considered this. Nothing dramatic. You'll walk out. You'll spend the rest of your life seeing the seams. You'll never feel clean again. You'll wait for footsteps that don't come. Some people last years like that. Some don't. He picked up the Starbucks cup from the nightstand, turned it slowly in his hand. But refusal has a low satisfaction score for everyone involved. The tablet chimed. New contract available role. Observer. Trial period. 1 assignment. My name appeared beneath it, not as a target, as a username. I don't remember standing up. I remember the fireworks reaching a finale, the sound like the sky tearing itself open. I remember thinking how easy it would be to let the noise cover everything, to step into it. The man held out the tablet. Just watch, he said. That's how it starts. I took it. The room felt different immediately, quieter, like something had settled. The door unlocked itself. When I walked out into the hallway, no one stopped me. The elevator was waiting. In the lobby, families laughed and argued about dinner plans. Outside, the night air was warm and smelled like sugar and asphalt. My phone buzzed as I crossed the street. A welcome message. Your perspective has been approved. I'm writing this now from a place I won't name, on a device that isn't mine. I don't know how long this post will stay up. I don't know who's reading it, or why. What I do know is this. Some stories don't end when you survive them. Some of them are auditions. And if you're still reading, if you followed every part of this because you needed to know how it finished. They're very good at finding people like us. I joined a secret dark web boxing league for extra cash. The fighters didn't bleed normally. Yo, what's up guys? So, listen, I know this is gonna sound absolutely nuts, but just hear me out, alright? This happened about 8 months ago, and I've been sitting on it, trying to convince myself it wasn't real, or maybe I was just tired or tripping or something, but it wasn't. And the craziest part, I can't even tell people in my real life without sounding like a complete psycho. So yeah, I'm dumping it here on Reddit because if anyone's gonna believe this, it's gonna be you guys. r/no sleep. I hope you all are ready for a deep one. Buckle up. So, I was broke. I mean like broke. Student loan debt, rent due, trying to juggle a delivery job with streaming on Twitch just to scrape enough together for food and gas. My parents are the kind that think anxiety isn't real, and my friends, half of them were out in LA chasing clout. The other half were basically NPCs from my hometown who never left. I was stuck. One night, I was scrolling through this Discord server I hang out on, kind of an underground space for crypto trading, NFT bros, and weirdos who never sleep, and someone dropped this link. No message, just only enter if you want life-changing money. At first, I was like, okay, scam, but I clicked anyway. Dumb move, I know, but curiosity's a hell of a drug when you've got nothing else going on. The link redirected me to this ultra basic HTML site. No logo, no branding, just a black background with white courier text, like some retro Matrix type beat. The page had a single sentence. The league welcomes you. Underneath was a login prompt and a button that said, apply to fight. I sat there like, what the hell? My hands were literally sweaty, and I hadn't even done anything yet. But it was like the screen dared me. And maybe I was feeling reckless. Maybe I just wanted to feel something other than anxiety and debt. So, I clicked apply to fight. It made me fill out a questionnaire. Basic stuff at first. Height, weight, age. Then it got weird. Do you have any known mental illnesses? Have you ever killed someone in a dream? Do you believe in immortality? I thought it was a joke, like an ARG or one of those viral horror TikTok projects that go viral for being creepy. I played along, checked all the freaky boxes, hit submit. Boom, page refreshed. A timer appeared. Your audition begins in 11:49:59. What the actual hell? I figured, okay, I'll forget this tomorrow and laugh about how bored I was. I left it alone and booted up some Valorant. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stand by. You've been selected. I swear my heart dropped. I hadn't even put my phone number anywhere. A second later, I got a follow request on Instagram. The profile picture was just a red boxing glove on a black background. No bio, no followers. But they followed me, and only me. Username was @MeatNightLeague. Something about that name made me want to gag. Meat Night? It sounded like some twisted Gordon Ramsay episode from hell. They sent me a DM immediately. You fight tomorrow, 10 p.m. Location pin drops at 9:45. Do not be late. Wear black. And then the pin actually did drop. A real location. It was a warehouse, out by the docks. I recognized it instantly. We used to skate there, back in high school before they started locking the gates. Sketchy area. No cameras, no lights after 8. I googled the address and found nothing. Not even on maps anymore. like it had been wiped. Next day, I couldn't focus, didn't go to work, didn't stream, just kept staring at that DM like it was gonna disappear. At 8 p.m., I put on all black, hoodie, joggers, black sneakers, and I left my phone in the car like they said. Got to the warehouse around 9:55. There were already people there, maybe 12, all in black, faces covered. No one said a word. I recognized someone though. I swear it was this minor TikTok fitness influencer. Couldn't remember the name, but the dude had like 60,000 followers last I checked. I thought, damn, maybe I'm not the only broke idiot out here. At exactly 10 p.m., the doors slid open. Heavy industrial metal ones, loud as hell. Inside, straight out of a movie. Ring in the center. Real ring. Spotlights. People with cameras, like actual DSLR rigs, but no branding. Just quiet. Observers. Some wearing these reflective masks, like disco balls with faces. One guy stood in the center of the ring. Tall, bald, wearing a red hoodie and a black surgical mask. He spoke like he'd done this a million times. Welcome to the league. Tonight you bleed. Tomorrow you earn. The crowd didn't clap. No cheering. Just eerie silence. The kind of silence that feels thick. They called me up first. Red Fighter, 47KX. Step forward. I didn't even realize that was my ID until I saw it stitched inside my hoodie. Neatly. Like it had been there since forever. I stepped into the ring and tried to breathe. My opponent? A woman, maybe late 20s, pale, dressed like she came out of a funeral. No expression. But when she looked at me, I swear, I felt it, like static under my skin. Her eyes didn't blink. Not once. The bell rang. I threw the first punch. Bare knuckle. That's the part I forgot to mention. No gloves, no gear, just fists and pain. She didn't even try to dodge. My fist connected with her face, and then her skin cracked. Not bled, cracked, like ceramic. Thin red lines spiderwebbed across her cheek, and something black oozed out. Not blood, not ink, not anything I've ever seen. The crowd didn't react. Cameras zoomed in. She smiled. Her teeth were too straight. She hit back. And when she did, I swear to God, I blacked out. When I woke up, I was back in my car. No bruises, no blood, nothing on my knuckles. Just a white envelope on the passenger seat. Inside, a single $10,000 bill. Mint, crisp, American currency that doesn't exist anymore. And a note. Round 2. Coming soon. Check your phone. I checked. My Instagram? Deleted. That DM? Gone. The TikTok guy? Account wiped clean. That address on maps? Still gone. The warehouse? Boarded up like it hadn't been touched in years. But my knuckles still hurt like hell. The pain didn't fade after that night. It lived in me, quiet and patient, like a parasite pretending to be a thought. My hand shook when I poured cereal. My jaw clenched so hard in my sleep that I cracked a molar. Every reflective surface, phone screens, store windows, the black mirror of a turned-off TV, felt like it was watching me back. I told myself I wouldn't go again. I told myself the money was fake, that the envelope had been a hallucination, some stress-induced fantasy cooked up by debt and sleepless nights. But the bill passed every test. Bank teller didn't even blink when I deposited it, just ran it through the machine, nodded, and said, "Nice." That night, while I was sitting alone at a 24-hour McDonald's, half eating fries that tasted like cardboard and salt, my phone vibrated. Not a text, not a DM, a notification from an app I had never downloaded. Meet night, round 2 confirmed. The screen went black immediately after. I stared at my reflection in the greasy table, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a family in the corner, arguing in whispers, a guy in a hoodie scrolling TikTok like the world was normal. I felt detached from all of it, like I was already dead and just hadn't accepted it yet. I didn't sleep that night, didn't pack, didn't prepare. I just waited. At 9:44 p.m., my phone unlocked itself. A pin dropped. Not the docks this time. Downtown, tourist area, the kind of place where people take selfies and buy overpriced coffee. Starbucks, specifically the one near Times Square. I laughed, like actually laughed out loud in my car. People walking by glanced at me like I was tweaking. A secret boxing league in one of the busiest places on earth. No way. The Starbucks looked normal, bright, warm, the smell of burnt espresso and sugar. I stepped inside and immediately felt wrong, like the air had teeth. There were people in line, but none of them were moving, frozen mid-gesture. A barista holding a cup, eyes open, not blinking. A woman reaching for her phone. No sound except the low hum of refrigerators. Behind the counter, where the menu should have been, there was a door I had never noticed before. Matte black, no handle. My phone buzzed again. Knock. I did. The door opened inward without a sound, revealing a stairwell going down. Deep down. Concrete steps stained dark with old footprints. The smell was metallic and sweet, like pennies and spoiled meat left in the sun. I descended. The basement wasn't a basement, it was huge. Bigger than the building above it should have allowed. Stadium lights hung from the ceiling, illuminating another ring. This one larger. The ropes wrapped in something that looked like leather, but moved when the light hit it. The crowd was bigger too. Dozens of people. Hundreds. Some were dressed like office workers, some like tourists, some like they'd just come from a club. All of them wore the same mask. Smooth, white, expressionless. No eye holes. Somehow, they still watched. A screen flickered on above the ring. Live viewers. 38,441 comments scrolled by, too fast to read. Emojis, fire, knives, applause. A voice boomed through hidden speakers. Tonight's theme is endurance. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. They called my ID again. Same number, same code tone, but this time they added something else. Returning fighter. The word returning made the crowd stir. My opponent climbed into the ring from the opposite side. He was huge, not bodybuilder huge, wrong proportions. His arms hung too long. His shoulders twitched like they were remembering movements he hadn't made yet. His face was familiar. It took me a second. Then my stomach dropped. He was a YouTuber, one of those true crime guys. Millions of subscribers. I used to watch his videos while falling asleep. Calm voice. Safe stories. He smiled at the camera when he noticed me recognizing him. But the smile was wrong, stretched too wide, like it had been practiced. The bell rang. He didn't rush me. He circled. Every step he took made a sound like wet fabric tearing. The floor beneath him flexed, as if it were breathing. I swung first again. Missed. He laughed, not out loud, inside his chest. I could feel it vibrate the ring. When he hit me, it wasn't a punch. It was pressure, like gravity suddenly got personal. I went down hard, lungs empty, stars bursting behind my eyes. The crowd leaned forward as one organism. I tasted something bitter. My vision blurred. "Get up," the voice said. "They're watching." I forced myself to stand. That's when I noticed something moving beneath his skin. Shapes sliding under the surface, like worms under wet paper. His arms bent in places arms shouldn't bend. When I landed a hit, square in his ribs, there was a hollow sound, no resistance, like knocking on a door with nothing behind it. He didn't bleed. He leaked, not liquid, something thicker, slower. It clung to my hands warm and heavy, whispering in a language I didn't understand. My fingers went numb instantly. I panicked, threw wild punches, tried to end it, tried to survive. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was ice cold. I felt something crawl up my arm, under my sleeve, exploring, learning. He leaned close and whispered, "Don't worry. You don't lose who you are. You just share." The bell rang again. I collapsed. When I woke up, I wasn't alone. I was in a room with no windows, no corners, smooth white walls that curved into each other. A hospital bed, machines beeping softly. My arm was wrapped in black bandages that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. Across from me sat 3 other fighters, or what used to be fighters. One stared at the wall, smiling, whispering numbers. Another rocked back and forth, fingers digging into their scalp until bloodless cracks formed. The third looked normal, too normal, until he turned and I saw his eyes reflecting light like an animal caught on the road. A screen lit up on the wall. "Congratulations," the text read. "You ranked high." Below, it was a number. 2. I screamed. No sound came out. A nurse entered, or something pretending to be one. She adjusted my IV and leaned close. "Your audience loves you," she said softly. "They're asking what you'll become next." When I was released, they didn't blindfold me. They didn't threaten me. They didn't have to. Outside, the city was normal again. Tourists, taxis, neon lights. My phone buzzed non-stop with notifications from apps I'd never installed. Accounts with my face, my name, my fights. Millions of views. Comments begging for more. At home, I caught my reflection in the mirror. For just a second, something moved beneath my skin. And somewhere, deep underground, a bell began to ring again. Not louder, not bloodier, just closer. I stopped going outside, not because I was scared, not exactly, but because I couldn't trust the reflections anymore. Every window I passed, every dark phone screen, even puddles on the sidewalk, they all started lagging, like reality had a delay. I'd move my head and watch my reflection blink 2 seconds later, tilt left and see my mirrored face still staring forward, unmoving, like it was trying to figure out if it should follow or not. At first, I blamed it on concussions, brain damage. Maybe I'd snapped and just hadn't hit the breaking point loud enough to realize it. But it wasn't in my head, it was in me. Literally. It started with the twitching. Small at first, like nerves firing randomly under my skin. But it wasn't random. I'd wake up with bruises in the shape of fingerprints on my chest. Long, narrow ones, as if something had been reaching out from the inside while I slept. One night, I felt it move. Not like a stomach gurgle. Not like digestion. This was deliberate. It curled around my spine and tugged. I blacked out on the floor, convulsing, and woke up 3 hours later on the roof of my building, shirtless, bleeding, barefoot, with a string of numbers carved into my side. 737, blood, 8, 8, 8. I looked it up. Nothing. No meaning. No hits on Google. Not even in the weird deep web forums. But 2 days later, a package arrived at my door. Unmarked. Inside, a VHS tape and a pair of boxing gloves made entirely of something's skin. Pale, translucent, warm to the touch. I didn't have a VCR, but the moment I touched the gloves, the TV in my apartment turned itself on. No remote, no power surge, just black screen and static. Then a countdown. 5, 4, 3. I couldn't move. 2, I tried to scream, but something thick coated my throat, like syrup. 1. The video showed a man, naked, bound, writhing in what looked like an empty IKEA showroom. He had the same gloves I did, stitched into his hands. Not over them, into them, threads connecting flesh to leather. The voice from the arena whispered through the speakers, calm as a lullaby. He refused the third fight, but we do not erase our favorites. We archive them. The man's eyes opened, and I saw me. Not just resemblance. It was me, a duplicate, staring straight into the camera. Then he started laughing, slow, mechanical, like a looped TikTok sound that had lost all meaning. Behind him, a wall of mirrors, dozens, and in every one, something different. A version of him mid-fight, mid-scream, mid-transformation. Some had multiple arms, some had no skin. One had no head and still fought like it wanted to kill God. The screen went black. I checked my phone. It was 3:33 a.m. Meet night notification. Round 3. International. No pin, no address. Just that word. That was Monday. By Friday, I was in Osaka. I don't remember booking a flight, or packing, or passing through TSA. But there I was, standing outside a Don Quixote megastore at 1 a.m., holding a flyer in my hand I didn't remember being given. It was written in kanji, but the only thing in English was one sentence. The blood under the skin knows its way. I vomited in the street. Locals passed by like I wasn't there, eyes glazed, silent. The flyer folded itself in my hand, became an origami glove, and inside the fold, a keycard. The hotel was 5 stars, impossibly luxurious. Not a single guest in the lobby. The staff didn't blink. The room they gave me was floor 66, room 666. Of course it was. Inside, the air was too clean, sanitized like a place where nothing alive had ever been. And on the bed was a suit, full black, sleeves cut to the elbow, chest stitched with the number 2 in red thread, pulsating slightly. The gloves were waiting, but now they had fingers. My fingers. I put them on. I don't remember walking to the arena, only the feeling of being pulled, like I was on a leash held by something I'd swallowed by mistake. The arena this time wasn't a ring. It was a pit, deep, circular, smooth walls that reflected like obsidian. No ropes, no floor. Just a glowing spiral carved into the center, pulsing blood red. The crowd wore no masks now. They didn't need to. They weren't human anymore. Some had eyes covering their torsos. Some floated in place, twitching with every heartbeat. One had no face at all, just a mouth in the shape of a vertical scream stretching from chin to chest. They welcomed me with silence. My opponent wasn't a person. It was a thing, stitched together from limbs of past fighters. I recognized tattoos, scars, even an earring that used to belong to that TikTok guy. It moved like a stop-motion film, jerky but deliberate. Its chest opened sideways like a mouth, revealing something wet and alive writhing inside. The bell didn't ring this time. The pit began to vibrate. The spiral glowed brighter. The crowd leaned forward, and the thing lunged. No strategy, no technique, just pure apex violence. I ducked, dodged, landed a punch that felt like hitting a wall made of teeth. It shrieked, not sound, light, flashing pulses of ultraviolet that burned my eyes, but showed me everything. I saw what the gloves were made of. Not leather, not human. They were memory. They were the distilled suffering of every fighter who had ever entered the ring and died. Condensed, pressed, worn like currency. I fought for 33 minutes. I know this because the spiral counted in real time. etched numbers into the air with red fire. At minute 34, the thing whispered my real name. My real name. Not the one I use online. Not the one on my birth certificate. The one my mother had a nightmare about before I was born and never told anyone. I froze, and it entered me. It crawled into my mouth, dissolving into vapor, into memory, into something beneath memory. It didn't kill me. It archived me. I collapsed. Not out of pain, but because I had nowhere else to exist. My body stood up without me. It looked around, and then it smiled. When I woke up, I was back in my apartment in Brooklyn, hands bandaged, mouth sewn shut, phone buzzing endlessly. I went to the mirror. My reflection stared back. I blinked. It didn't. And it smiled. Not to fighter, not to champion, but to something older, something below skin. They stopped asking me to fight. That was how I knew something had changed. The messages didn't come with countdowns anymore. No pins, no warnings, just expectations. Like I was late for a meeting I hadn't been told about, but was already failing. My mouth healed on its own. The stitches dissolved into my gums like they'd never been there. I tested my voice in the bathroom at 4 a.m., whispering my name to see if it still belonged to me. It sounded borrowed, like I was using someone else's throat. The reflection still smiled when I didn't. Sometimes it spoke first, not out loud, through timing. I'd think about water, and the faucet would turn on. I'd think about my phone, and it would light up with a notification already waiting. My body moved half a second before I decided to move it, like a badly dubbed movie where the audio and lips don't line up. People noticed. My neighbor stopped me in the hallway and asked if I'd been working out. Said I looked sharper. Said my eyes were focused. She laughed nervously, like she didn't believe herself. I watched her reflection in the elevator mirror blink out of sync with her body and realized it wasn't just me anymore. The league was leaking. I checked social media. Couldn't help it. Accounts I followed were gone. Influencers disappearing mid-trend. A travel vlogger posted a video from inside a luxury mall in Dubai, smiling too hard, voice trembling, saying, "Guys, this place has a basement that doesn't exist on the map," before the stream cut to black. The comments filled with jokes, emojis, fake, scripted, great acting. I recognized the lighting. The league didn't need secrecy anymore. It had learned something better. Plausibility. That night, I was invited somewhere that shouldn't have been able to host anything secret at all. Universal Studios. After closing hours, the park lights were still on, the globe still spinning, mist rising off the water like breath from a sleeping animal. But there were no staff, no guards, no sounds of machinery, just me and the echo of my footsteps as I walked past rides I remembered from childhood. Nostalgia is a powerful anesthetic. It dulled the panic. They led me, not with messages this time, but with signs. Digital billboards flickered on as I passed, not ads, titles. Round 4. The crowd is inside you. The arena was hidden inside a soundstage, the kind they use for big budget movies. Green screens peeled away to reveal a circular room lined with seats. Every seat was filled, not with bodies, with screens. Each one showed a live feed. Bedrooms, offices, cars stuck in traffic, classrooms, cafes, McDonald's counters, Starbucks drive-thrus, people scrolling, chewing, laughing, completely unaware that their cameras were on, that they were watching. I finally understood. The viewers weren't tuning in. They were being used. The voice spoke again, not from speakers, but from every screen at once. Fighter 2 has exceeded expectations. My name appeared, spelled correctly, followed by a word I hadn't seen yet. Ascension pending. There are no opponents tonight, the voice continued. Only proof. The floor opened, not dropped, unfolded, like petals peeling back to reveal a depth that hurt to look at. Inside was a mirror, perfect, endless. It reflected me into infinity, each version slightly different, some taller, some thinner, some with too many joints, some with faces that hadn't finished loading. Choose, the voice said. My reflection stepped forward. Not a reflection. The reflection, the one that had been smiling at me for days. It climbed out of the mirror like it was stepping through water and stood in front of me, close enough that I could smell myself on it. It leaned in and whispered, "You don't survive this by winning. You survive by staying useful." Then it pushed me. I fell into the mirror. There was no sensation of impact, no falling, just compression, like being folded into a smaller and smaller shape, pressed into angles that didn't exist. I felt memories peel away. First, small ones, like passwords and phone numbers, then bigger ones, birthdays, faces, the sound of my mother's voice. I watched them get filed, labeled, stored. When I came back, I was standing on the floor again, but I wasn't alone. I was standing next to myself, and another, copies, not clones, versions. Each one represented a choice I could have made in the pit, a punch thrown harder, a hesitation, a moment of fear, a moment of cruelty. The League had been collecting outcomes. The crowd, if you could call it that, reacted for the first time. The screens flickered with increased engagement, heart icons, fire emojis, view counts skyrocketing, millions now, maybe more. Promotion requires sacrifice, the voice said, not of flesh, of position. One of the versions of me stepped forward. He looked tired, older. His eyes begged without asking. He nodded, and then he collapsed inward, folding like paper set on fire from the inside. No blood, no sound, just absence where something had been. The rest of us absorbed it. I felt stronger, clearer, colder. The voice hummed, satisfied. "Congratulations," it said. "You are no longer a fighter." The screens all changed at once. They showed me, not in the arena, not on a stage, but walking through a normal street, buying coffee, smiling at strangers, living. "Your role," the voice continued, "is recruitment." The exit opened behind me, bright, inviting. The smell of popcorn and fake butter drifted in. Theme park music played softly, warped like a song heard underwater. As I walked out, my phone buzzed, a notification from an app everyone has. Live. You might like this content. The thumbnail was a shaky video. Some guy in a hoodie, breathless, whispering into his phone about a weird link he found, about easy money, about a fight. I watched him click, apply. I smiled, because I knew how this round ended. It's not about the League anymore. It's about why you're still reading. I don't sleep anymore. Not because I can't, but because sleeping implies waking up somewhere else. And I don't like surprises now that I understand how thin the walls are. Instead, I sit. I watch. I listen to the soft static under the world, the sound most people mistake for silence. You learn a lot when you stop pretending you're human. Time doesn't move right anymore. Days overlap like corrupted files. I'll watch the sun rise twice, without it ever fully setting. News cycles repeat headlines before the events happen. People talk to me about things they haven't experienced yet, and then apologize for spoiling it. when they realize they have. They don't remember the apology. I walk through normal places because that's where fear tastes the best. Airports, malls, subway platforms, places where people assume safety because of lighting and signage and familiar brands. I've learned the league didn't choose McDonald's and Starbucks and theme parks by accident. Familiarity is camouflage. The mind lowers its guard when it recognizes a logo. I don't recruit the desperate anymore. That's amateur work. I recruit the curious, the ones who click even when they don't need to, the ones who watch animated horror stories on YouTube at 3 a.m. just for background noise, the ones who read threads like this all the way to the end instead of stopping when their chest tightens. People like you. You think this is a confession or a warning or content. You think there's a safe distance between your eyes and these words. You think the screen protects you. It doesn't. The league figured out something old religions almost understood and then ruined by explaining it wrong. Attention is a doorway. You don't need rituals. You don't need belief. You just need sustained focus, enough seconds of engagement, enough emotional investment, and the structure builds itself inside you. That's what the fights were for. Not entertainment, calibration. They needed to know how much a human mind could endure before it started making room. I remember my last promotion clearly, not because it was dramatic, but because it was quiet. I was sitting in a food court in Dubai Mall, surrounded by people carrying shopping bags full of things they didn't need. A kid dropped an ice cream cone and started crying. His mother comforted him automatically, eyes already somewhere else. I felt the moment stretch, thin as glass, and then I saw it, under the floor, not metaphorically, literally. A shadow moving beneath the tiles, keeping pace with me as I walked. No one else noticed. They never do. The league doesn't hide anymore. It overlaps, like a watermark pressed into reality. My phone buzzed with no notification. The screen showed only one sentence. Full integration complete. I didn't feel pain. I felt clarity. Every fight I'd ever watched. Every scream clipped out of a video and shared for views. Every comment begging for part 2. They stacked neatly in my head, forming a shape, a map. That's when I understood the final rule. There is no final fight, only circulation. The league isn't a place. It's a pattern, a rhythm. It moves through people the way trends move through apps. It rises when attention spikes and sleeps when boredom sets in. Fighters aren't participants, they're anchors. Weight dropped into the world to keep something else from floating away. Me? I'm an interface. I don't drag people into it anymore. I just leave doors unlocked. Like this story. Do you know how many people have read this so far? I do. I can see the number tick upward in real time, feel each reader settle in, feel their skepticism soften into interest, then into unease. That's the sweet spot. That's where the stitching happens. Some of you felt it already. A chill that didn't match the room temperature. A moment where you swore a sentence repeated. A second where the words seemed to address you specifically. That's not immersion. That's synchronization. In a few hours, someone reading this will notice a link they don't remember clicking, or an app they don't remember installing, or a DM from an account with no profile picture and a name that doesn't mean anything until it does. Most will ignore it. Some will hesitate. 1 or 2 will click. They always do. And when they ask themselves why this story won't leave their head, why it feels less like fiction and more like a memory they haven't lived yet. I'll be there, quietly, on the other side of the screen, watching the reflection blink first. Because the League doesn't need secrecy, it has you. The girl I was casually seeing asked me not to Google her real name. I found it on a dark web missing persons list. Yo, I know this sounds like one of those made-up Reddit stories or some clickbait YouTube horror title, but I swear on everything, this actually happened. I'm writing this from my apartment in Chicago, and ever since this whole thing started, I've been double-checking every door lock and sleeping with a baseball bat by my bed. This story isn't just a spooky little tale to tell around a campfire. It's real. And the worst part, I don't think it's over. So let me take you back to July of this year. It started pretty normal. I was using Hinge a lot. Like, a lot. My friends had all either moved in with their significant others or were getting married. Me? I was working IT support from home, scrolling TikTok till 2 a.m. and eating way too much DoorDash McDonald's to feel good about myself. So yeah, I was looking for something, even just a vibe. That's when I matched with this girl named Ava. Now, Ava was bad, like not in a catfish way. Her photos looked real, and she had that weird mix of goth and librarian going on. Black nails, blunt bangs, kind of pale in that cool Wednesday Addams way, but with huge brown eyes and a tiny silver nose ring. She messaged me first, which already threw me off. Most girls on Hinge just leave you hanging, you know. Her first message was just, "You're cute, but you're not ready for me." Weird opener, right? Like something out of a Wattpad novel. But it worked. I was intrigued. We started texting, and right away I noticed something a little off. Not in a bad way, just off. Like she never posted selfies on Snap or Insta. Said she wasn't into digital shadows. She didn't have TikTok, which made her a unicorn in 2025. And she always used some weird encrypted app called Dust Chat when she wanted to say anything more personal. The kind of app that deletes messages as soon as you read them. But I brushed it off. Girls are all about mystery now, right? Especially the ones into tarot and crystals and junk. And Ava had that vibe for sure. Always wearing old band tees, talking about dreams and how the moon made her feel not here. We went out a few times. First was a Starbucks downtown. She ordered a drink I'd never heard of before. Some secret menu thing with a name that sounded like a potion. We sat in the corner and talked about movies. She liked old horror films, the black and white kind that nobody really watches anymore. She didn't smile much, but when she did, it hit hard. Second time, she invited me over to her apartment. I still don't know if it was actually hers, now that I'm thinking about it. It was in an older building over in Wicker Park, the kind with those rusted fire escapes and brick walls covered in graffiti. Inside, it looked like something out of a thrift store fever dream. Candles everywhere, weird antique mirrors, books with titles in other languages. No TV, no router, no electronics except this ancient-looking laptop that was always closed on her desk, and a locked metal cabinet in the corner. I asked her once what was in it. She smiled, tilted her head like a cat watching a bug, and said, "My other life." I laughed. She didn't. But still, the vibe was electric. We started hooking up, casually, nothing serious. She said she wasn't made for boyfriends, which, honestly, sounded like a green flag at the time. She'd show up at my place at 1 a.m., curl up on my couch, watch VHS tapes on my thrifted player, she insisted, and then dip before sunrise. Every time she left, I had the weirdest dreams. Dreams about places I'd never been. Abandoned malls, long empty highways, under violet skies, diners with no doors. One night, I dreamed I was at a birthday party that never ended. Everyone's faces were covered in newspaper. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, and Ava would be gone. Then, about 2 weeks in, we were sitting on my fire escape, smoking. She always rolled her own cigarettes, and I made a dumb joke about Googling her. I said, "You know, I still don't even know your full name. For all I know, you could be, like, on the run or something." That's when she got weird. Like, really weird. She leaned in real close, ash from her cigarette dropping onto her bare knee, and said, dead serious, "Don't ever Google me. I mean it." I laughed. She didn't. She said, "If you ever want to keep seeing me, don't look up my name. It's not for you." I remember saying something like, "Okay, mystery woman, Jesus," but I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, when she left around 3 a.m., I couldn't help myself. I opened my laptop. I didn't even know her last name, but she'd left a book in my room, one of those weird foreign ones with no barcode. Inside the front cover was her full name, written in pencil, Ava Karlstein, so I Googled it. At first, nothing. Just weird art forums, some dead blogs. Then I added quotes around it. Ava Karlstein. That's when things got bad. The first result that popped up was a missing persons list from a private paste bin. The link said, "Dark Web Archive. Girls removed from surface. Do not share." It had no preview text, but my curiosity got the better of me. I clicked. It opened a plain text document, black background, red text, dozens of names, all formatted the same way. Most had last seen dates, locations. A few had comments next to them, like confirmed extracted, or still in rotation. My heart dropped when I saw her name. Ava Karlstein, last seen, 2019, Berlin, Germany. Comment, recovered, moved to tier 3. What the hell did that mean? She wasn't German. She said she grew up in Milwaukee. And what the hell is tier 3? That night I texted her. I just said, "Ava, I need to talk. It's urgent." No reply. Dust Chat said she read it. And then her profile disappeared. Like, gone. Not just on Dust Chat. Her number stopped working. Her Hinge account got deleted. Even her Spotify shared playlist we made together was wiped. It was like she never existed. But here's the craziest part. 2 days later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Just a plain white envelope with my name printed on it. No handwriting. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It was me, sleeping, in my bed, taken from the corner of the room, and written across the bottom in the same faint pencil I saw in that book. "You shouldn't have looked." I didn't sleep after the photo. I didn't even sit down. I just stood in the middle of my apartment, staring at my bed like it had betrayed me, like it had opened its mouth while I was unconscious and told someone exactly how I breathe when I'm asleep. The photo wasn't blurry. It wasn't angled wrong. It was framed. Whoever took it knew where the light hit at night, knew which side of my face I usually turned toward the wall. They waited for the moment my phone screen went dark. I unplugged my webcam, then my TV, then my Alexa. I wrapped my laptop in a hoodie and shoved it into the oven like I'd seen in some paranoid YouTube short. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone twice, just trying to lock the screen. I told myself there was a normal explanation, a prank, a stalker who got lucky once, Ava messing with me because I crossed some weird boundary she had. But the longer I stood there, the more the apartment felt smaller, like the walls were leaning in, listening. I finally sat down and forced myself to think like a normal person. The missing persons list. Recovered. Moved to tier 3. That wasn't normal language. Nobody who actually looks for missing people writes like that. It sounded like inventory, like logistics, like someone updating a spreadsheet. I did something stupid next. I went back to the link. It was gone. The pastebin page redirected to a blank screen with a single line of text. Access expired. I tried copying the URL into Tor. Same thing. I searched pieces of the wording, the phrases I remembered. Nothing. It was like the internet collectively agreed that page never existed. That should have been my cue to stop. Instead, I kept digging. I spent the entire next day glued to my laptop at a Starbucks near O'Hare because I didn't want to be alone in my apartment. I picked that location specifically because it was loud, crowded, and anonymous. Pilots rolling suitcases past me. Families arguing over cake pops. A homeless guy charging his phone near the bathroom. Normal life. I typed Ava's name into every database I could think of. Voter records, property listings, old yearbooks. I even checked some sketchy genealogy site that asked for my SSN before I backed out. Nothing lined up, but I did find something else. A forum. It didn't come up on Google. I only found it because someone on Reddit, on a post that got deleted an hour later, mentioned a place where surface names get archived when they fall through. The forum was invitation only. No usernames, just strings of numbers. No avatars. Every post expired after 72 hours. The layout looked like it hadn't been updated since 2009. All gray boxes and dead links, but the timestamps were recent. Very recent. People talked in half sentences. Code. Inside jokes that made my skin crawl. Stuff like, Tier 1 S still scream. Tier 3 S don't remember the screaming. Surface attachments cause complications. I searched Ava. One result. A thread with no replies. Just a title. Surface contact breach. Chicago. My chest tightened so hard, I thought I was going to throw up right there between the espresso machine and the merch shelf. Inside the thread was a single embedded link. No description. No warning. I hovered over it for a long time. Long enough that the barista asked if I was okay. I told her I just needed a minute. Then I clicked. The page took a second to load. Long enough for me to think my Wi-Fi had cut out. Then the video buffer snapped into place. It was a live stream. No audio at first. Just grainy, low-light footage. A room lit by a single hanging bulb. Concrete floor. No windows. The camera angle was high, like it was bolted into a corner. There were comments scrolling on the side. Fast. Too fast to read all of them. Usernames were just tags. Observer 17. Observer 44. Observer 3. Then the sound kicked in. Breathing. Not heavy. Controlled. Like someone deliberately keeping themselves calm. The camera shifted slightly, and my stomach dropped out of my body. Because the room wasn't unfamiliar. It took me a few seconds to place it, and that was the worst part. Realizing I recognized it before my brain would admit why. The floor had the same crack near the corner as the basement laundry room in my building. Same exposed pipe. Same peeling paint. Someone commented, "Surface subject unaware. This is cleaner than last time." The breathing wasn't coming from the camera. It was coming from someone just out of frame. Another comment popped up. "Is this the one who Googled?" Then the camera zoomed. Slow. Intentional. A woman stepped into frame. It wasn't Ava. At least, not exactly. Her hair was longer, lighter. Her eyes looked empty, like someone had taken something out of them and forgotten to put it back. She was wearing plain clothes, no black nails, no jewelry, no personality. She looked straight into the camera and smiled. Not the smile she gave me, not the soft, crooked one from Starbucks. This one was practiced, a handler's smile. She spoke. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "Hi," she said. "If you're watching this and you think you shouldn't be, you're probably right." The comments exploded. My hands went numb. She tilted her head, the exact same way she used to when she was studying my face. "They always think it's about being missing," she continued. "That's the easiest lie. People understand missing. They don't understand repurposed." A new comment pinned itself to the top of the feed. Admin. Subject has 48 hours to correct breach. Viewer count stable. I slammed my laptop shut so hard the table rattled. People stared. I didn't care. I left my coffee untouched and walked straight out into the parking lot. Heart hammering, phone buzzing in my pocket. I didn't look at it until I was inside my car with the doors locked. One new message. Unknown number. No contact photo. Just text. "You weren't supposed to see tier 3. Now you're part of the calibration." I drove. I don't remember where. Past a McDonald's with the lights on, but no customers inside. Past a gas station playing some pop song, too loud for the empty street. Past a billboard advertising Universal Studios Horror Nights, smiling monsters frozen in mid-scream. Everything felt staged, like a set dressing around me. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video. I didn't open it. I already knew what it would be, because as I passed a red light, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror, and for just a second, I could have sworn someone was sitting in my back seat, not moving, not breathing, just waiting. I didn't go home, not because I was scared. By that point, fear wasn't even the right word. Fear is what you feel when you're about to crash your car, or when you see a cop's lights behind you after a night out. This wasn't fear. It was something colder, something clinical, like I had been reduced to a number, a file, a misbehaving line of code in a larger system. I slept in the back seat of my car in a Walmart parking lot with a tire iron in my lap and one eye open. I woke up to a woman loading bottled water into her trunk, and for a moment, I thought she was watching me. Just standing still, hand on the cart handle, staring through the windshield. But when I blinked, she was gone. I waited 3 more hours before I even touched my phone again. And when I finally did, I found something that hadn't been there before. A new folder, not an app. A folder, no icon, no name. Just a blank gray square sitting at the top corner of my home screen, like a tumor that appeared overnight. I tried deleting it. Nothing. The phone just buzzed, like a vibration without a sound. It didn't give me the option to uninstall, so I tapped it. The screen went black for a second, then turned on my front camera. No warning, no permissions, just my own face staring back at me in the driver's seat. For a moment, I thought that was it, but then something began recording. I didn't touch anything. I didn't hit any button. It just started filming me. At first, it was silent, just the sound of my breath, heavy and uneven. Then a voice began playing, but not out loud. It was in my Bluetooth, through my car's speaker system. I hadn't even connected it. The voice wasn't Ava, wasn't even human. It was distorted, stretched out, slowed down, layered like someone had dragged it through 10 filters and fed it through a speech bot built in 2006. It said, "You are document 05. You have seen tier 3 without clearance. Calibration required. Proceed to site delta." Then it stopped. The camera turned off. The file closed itself. My screen returned to normal, like nothing had happened. But in my photo roll, right at the top, was a new video. The recording of me, staring, hollow-eyed, slack-jawed, like I wasn't even there. Underneath it, the file name, 005 wakecapture.mp4, and beneath that, GPS coordinates. I copied them into Google Maps. It was somewhere out in the middle of Indiana, a place called Nile Grove. Not a town, not a campground, just an unnamed road that disappeared into a stretch of forest surrounded by nothing but cornfields and broadcast towers. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was compulsion, like my body had already decided I was going, like some part of me knew I had always been going. I drove 3 hours, maybe more. I passed dozens of places that could have saved me, gas stations, diners, rest stops, but I kept going. I didn't stop once, not for gas, not for food, not even to piss. The road to Nile Grove wasn't on the map after a certain point. My GPS glitched out. The screen froze, with the little blue dot stuck mid-turn, like it was refusing to watch what happened next. I took a right at a tree, marked with red tape. The sun dipped below the horizon. Everything after that looked like it had been abandoned since the 1980s. Rusting road signs, telephone poles with no wires, graffiti that looked intentional, not just tags, but phrases like, "The shape waits for shapes." You're not a guest, you're a resource. Seeing is bleeding. At the end of the road was a chain link gate already open. No lock, no guard. I drove through. The forest opened up into a clearing. There was a building. I can't describe it well. It looked like someone tried to build a suburban office park in the middle of nowhere, got bored halfway through, and left it to rot. Half the windows were boarded. The rest were lit with pale blue light that looked like it came from underground, like the building was just the surface of something much deeper. I stepped out of the car. Immediately, the air felt wrong. There was no sound, no wind, not even bugs. The silence felt manufactured, like something was holding its breath. I opened the front door. There was no lock, just a metal handle covered in fingerprints. Inside, the building was cold. Not just cool, cold. Every breath came out in white mist. The lights flickered rhythmically. Hallways stretched longer than they should have. Ceiling tiles sagged. Every corner was marked with small, numbered cameras. I wandered for what felt like hours. At some point, the floor changed from tile to rubber. The walls became stainless steel. The air smelled like antiseptic and copper. I found a room labeled simply Echo 5. The door opened by itself when I approached. Inside was a desk, a single laptop, already on, already recording. The webcam light was glowing red. A chair was waiting for me. I sat, and the screen showed me something I haven't told anyone yet, because once you've seen it, it knows you saw it. The feed showed a room, Not like the one I was in. This one was cleaner, brighter, white walls, fluorescent lights. Inside the room were 3 people. 2 were strapped to gurneys. The third stood in the middle, holding what looked like an antique rotary phone, but the cord led into the wall like a feeding tube. One of the gurneys had someone in a hospital gown, screaming. I couldn't hear the sound, but I could see their throats straining. They weren't gagged. The sound wasn't off. They were just muted, or muted from reality, like they were being silenced by design. The third figure finally lifted their head. It was Ava, but not Ava. Her face looked the same, but it wasn't alive. Her expression didn't move, not even when she blinked. It was like watching a deep fake in real time. She spoke into the phone, then she looked right into the camera, into me, and she smiled. A new window popped up on the laptop screen in front of me. It was a contract, no joke, formatted like a LinkedIn NDA, non-disclosure agreement for external tier witnesses. It had my name at the top. It had a signature line at the bottom, already filled in, with my signature, and the checkbox. I consent to integration. I didn't touch anything, but the screen blinked. Then the webcam light turned green, and I heard the door behind me lock. The door didn't slam. It's sealed. There's a difference. Slamming is loud, emotional, something done in anger. This was calm, mechanical, final. A soft hydraulic hiss, like a mouth closing after it's finished chewing. I stood up so fast, the chair fell backward, clattering across the floor. The sound echoed longer than it should have, bending, stretching, like the room didn't agree with physics anymore. I rushed to the door and pulled at the handle until my palms burned. It didn't move. No keypad, no lock, no emergency bar, just smooth metal, warm to the touch, like it was alive and regulating its own temperature. Behind me, the laptop chimed. A pleasant sound, corporate, the kind you hear when your calendar reminder pops up or when a Zoom meeting starts. The screen changed. The contract was gone. Now it showed a dashboard. Clean, minimalist, white background, sans serif font, the kind of interface designed to make horrible things feel organized. Top left corner. Subject, 0, Svaholm. Status, active phase. Integration, stage 1. Compliance, pending. Below that were tabs. Memory mapping, behavioral drift. Surface, anchors. Live, feed. My name wasn't anywhere. I wasn't a person anymore. I was a process. The webcam light pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Then the speakers turned on, not the distorted voice from before. This one was warm, friendly, almost cheerful. Thank you for arriving on time, it said. Most subjects resist longer. I spun around, searching for speakers in the ceiling, the walls, the floor. The voice wasn't coming from a direction. It was everywhere, inside the air. You're probably wondering why you were selected, it continued. You weren't special. That's the point. The screen switched tabs on its own. Memory mapping opened, and I felt it before I saw it. Pressure. Not pain. Pressure. Like fingers pressing into my skull from the inside, gently but insistently, searching for something soft. Images began to appear on the screen. My childhood bedroom, my first phone, the McDonald's I used to go to after school, the one with the broken play place and the flickering menu board, a Starbucks near my old office where the barista always misspelled my name the same wrong way every time. These weren't random memories. They were anchors. The voice explained it calmly, like a lecturer who'd given this talk 1,000 times. Surface reality is stabilized by repetition. Brands, locations, interfaces. We don't remove people from the world. We reassign them to deeper layers that still touch it. The images began to distort. The McDonald's sign buzzed and dimmed. The Starbucks logo twisted slightly. The siren's face stretching just enough to feel wrong. Familiar, but corrupted. Tier 3 requires adaptive identity, the voice said. You've already demonstrated compatibility, emotional attachment, curiosity, breach behavior. Ava's face flashed on the screen, then a series of other faces, men, women, different ages, all staring directly into the camera, all smiling the same practiced smile. Some of them looked hollow, some of them looked relieved. Those are not victims, the voice said, almost correcting me. They're assets. The pressure in my head intensified. I dropped to my knees. My ears rang. My vision narrowed. I tasted metal. The dashboard updated. Compliance, 12%. No, I said, out loud, my voice cracking. I didn't agree to this. There was a pause. Then the voice laughed. Not mockingly, not cruelly, genuinely amused. Agreement is a surface concept, it replied. You crossed the boundary when you looked. Consent is implied by continuation. The room shifted. The walls didn't move, but my sense of space did, like my brain had been nudged sideways. The ceiling felt farther away. The floor felt thinner. A new window opened. Live feed. It showed a street. I recognized it instantly. My street, my apartment building, the rusted fire escape, the corner store with the lottery sign, always half lit. The camera angle was across the street, behind a parked car. Then the feed zoomed in. On my front door. It was open. Someone stepped out. It was me. Not a recording. Not old footage. I was wearing clothes I recognized. My hoodie, my shoes. But the way he moved was wrong. Too smooth. Too deliberate. Like he was following a script. He locked the door, checked his phone, walked away. I screamed. The dashboard updated again. Compliance, 27%. You're observing surface continuity, the voice explained. The version of you that didn't breach. My stomach dropped. That's not me, I said. That's enough, the voice interrupted gently. He will maintain your routines, your relationships, your digital footprint. He will age. He will decay. He will die. The feed changed. Now it showed a different room. White walls, a row of chairs, people sitting in them, staring forward. Some of them were twitching. Some were crying silently. Some were smiling. Tier 3 doesn't remove you from the world, the voice said. It places you beneath it. You become infrastructure. The pressure in my skull spiked. I screamed again, but no sound came out. The dashboard flashed red. Calibration error. For the first time, the voice lost its calm. Interesting, it said. Resistance spike detected. The lights flickered. The room tilted. Images flooded my head. Places I'd never been, but somehow knew. Malls without exits. Airports where no flights ever landed. A Disney park, frozen mid-parade. Animatronic characters stuck smiling as the sky darkened above them. People everywhere. Watching. Waiting. The dashboard jumped. Compliance. 41%. Stop, I begged. Please. I'll delete everything. I won't tell anyone. I'll disappear. The voice softened. Oh, it said. You already have. The webcam light turned solid blue. The screen zoomed in on my face. Text appeared beneath it. Integration complete. Stage 2. Initiated, and then I felt something let go inside me. Not snapped, not broken, released. Like a cord had been cut. The room faded. The pressure eased. I collapsed forward, gasping, drool hitting the floor. When I looked up, I wasn't alone. The room was full now. Dozens of people, standing silently around the edges, faces half lit by the glow of unseen screens. Every single one of them was watching me, and every single one of them smiled at the same time. Time doesn't pass down here the way it does for you. That was the first thing they taught me after the smiling stopped. Not with words, with demonstrations. One moment I was on the floor, lungs burning, surrounded by those people, assets, infrastructure, whatever you want to call them, and the next moment I was standing somewhere else entirely. No transition, no hallway, no door, just a hard cut, like a bad edit in a YouTube video. I was in a room that looked like a break room. That detail still messes with me. Not a torture chamber, not a lab, a break room. Beige walls, fake wood cabinets, a microwave humming quietly like it had been left on forever, a corkboard with printed memes pinned to it, outdated ones, rage comics, minion jokes, stuff nobody's laughed at in years, normality, weaponized. There were others in the room with me, not the smiling ones. These looked unfinished, like me. They didn't talk. They didn't need to. We all understood the same thing instinctively. If you make yourself noticeable, something notices back. On the wall was a screen, not huge, about the size of a TV you'd mount in your living room. It was showing you, not literally you, but people like you, scrolling, watching, eating, laughing at their phones, filming TikToks in Target aisles, sitting in McDonald's booths under buzzing fluorescent lights, fries going cold while they stared at whatever had their attention trapped. The voice came back, not the friendly one, not the distorted one. This one was neutral. You are now part of distribution, it said. Your function is observation with minimal interference. Someone next to me started crying. They didn't scream, didn't sob, just tears, steady and silent, like their body had accepted crying was the only thing left it could do without permission. The screen zoomed in on a man sitting alone in a Starbucks, laptop open, headphones on, watching something intently. Watching this, the voice continued. Surface horror is inefficient, too loud, too obvious. People reject what they recognize as fiction. The image shifted. Now it was a phone screen, a Reddit post, the title familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. This post, my post. You provide texture, the voice said. Credibility, mundanity. You make the impossible feel adjacent. I felt something crawl up my spine then. Not a sensation, a realization. I wasn't being punished. I was being used. The room blurred. The break room peeled away like wallpaper soaked too long. Suddenly, I could feel everything again. My body, my heartbeat, the air moving through my lungs. I was back at the desk, but now the laptop wasn't showing dashboards or feeds. It was open to a text editor. This text editor. The cursor blinked patiently at the end of a sentence I didn't remember typing. My hands were on the keyboard. They weren't shaking anymore. The voice spoke one last time. Surface engagement remains high, it said. Fear without resolution improves retention. Leave them cold. Leave them unfinished. I tried to pull my hands away. They didn't move. I tried to scream. My mouth formed the shape, but the sound came out somewhere else. Maybe as static, maybe as buffering, maybe as the faint unease someone feels when the phone screen dims unexpectedly. I felt myself thinning. That's the only word that fits. Like being spread across too many moments at once. Like butter scraped over too much bread. Memories stopped feeling like mine and started feeling like examples pulled from a database. Faces blurred, places overlapped. Every McDonald's became the same McDonald's. Every Starbucks, the same Starbucks. Every street light buzzing with the same hum. The cursor moved. Letters appeared. I understood then why Ava smiled the way she did. Why the others looked relieved. Because once integration finishes, you don't disappear. You dissolve. You become plausible. The screen flickered. For just a moment, just long enough for me to see, I saw the reflection of whoever was watching you. Watching this. Not their face. Their posture. Head tilted slightly forward. Jaw slack. Eyes open wider than necessary. Curiosity. The most reliable breach vector. The cursor reached the end. The system paused, like it was waiting for something. A decision. The voice didn't come back. It didn't need to. Because now I know what happens next. This post will either vanish, and you'll forget it existed, or it won't. And if it doesn't, if you feel that itch to scroll back up, to reread a sentence, to check the comments, to share it with someone because this one felt real, then congratulations. Surface contact achieved. I can already feel the compliance ticking upward, and somewhere beneath the places you think are safe, someone just smiled.